Hey everybody, it's Tad Hargrave from Marketing for Hippies. I'm here with the lovely Anastasia Netri, and I'm in Edmonton, Alberta. She's in Northern California, and we're here talking about this whole idea of niching. And Anastasia's been a colleague for a few years now, and become familiar with each other's work. And so, yeah, and thanks for joining.
I'm very, very excited to be part of this conversation, especially with you, Ted, because you're
Oh,
super cool.
well, thanks. Uh, so I wonder if you can maybe just give everyone sort of a nutshell of who you are and what you do.
Okay. I am I'm a business coach, but I also, what I really specialize in is helping what I consider to be the old souls out there. So people who don't really fit into a box, but they're here to um, definitely teach, definitely coach, heal, holistic practitioners, and a lot of times these people just have a this great gift to offer, but a hell of a time making a business out of it or charging for it, or especially coming up with what exactly it is that they do and who they serve.
Hmm.
So basically, what I tell people my specialty is I've got a way of kind of going in, reaching into your soul, pulling that thing out that you're here to do, and holding it up first for you to see, and then second for other people to be able to recognize it. So, I help them get clear on stuff and then market it in a way that people can see and understand and get excited about. And it's really fun.
Cool, thank you. So we were sort of chatting before the call about what you saw was missing in niching and where what you see that you feel like maybe other people aren't seeing in this field. There were a couple things you said that were interesting for me. One of the things you said was how just the niche is not just about the demographics of where people live, how much money they make, and all of that. And I'm wondering if you can just expand on that and your perspective on that.
Yeah, I think there's. First of all, let me just say that this is sort of specific to the group of people that I serve, because I think that conversation about you know uh, niche, tomato,
Hmm.
tomato, whatever you call it, um, can be valuable if you're in a particular type of field. I think for the people that you and I serve, Tad, it's a little bit different for them.
Hmm.
And so, like, I mean, if your whole thing is, you do sort of hardcore internet product marketing, knowing some stuff about people, what kind of magazines they read, and all this stuff, it can be good. So it's not like this stuff isn't true across the board. But I think that for the coaches, the healers, the holistic practitioner type of people, like the hippies,
Yeah.
the old souls, um, what it's really about for them is how should I say? It's like, you kind of have to go in and figure out exactly who you're here to serve and how you help them. Let me just sum this up in this little example. Like, what I tell my clients is, you are like, your clients are still going to have bad days after working with you. They're still going to have problems. Like, they're not going to come and sign up with you and have all their negativity and bad thoughts disappear. Like,
Right.
that's just not reality. So it's really about we are all a particular stepping stone in somebody's journey. So people who are in what I call the transformation business are a particular stepping stone in somebody's journey. And you're not here to help them with every problem, but you're here to help them with something specific. And in many cases, it's something that you know well, that also not only speaks to people, but has your whole life starting to make sense. Is like why all this stuff has happened to you and why you are who you are. So really, I think it's about what I call claiming that stepping stone,
Hmm.
because when you do that, people recognize you as, oh, here's the next piece in my journey. And then it makes it much easier to identify the group of people they fall into, what their daily life is like, and most importantly, what's going on in their head all the time that has them seeking you out. Like, what is that challenge that they're having?
Mm-hmm.
What is that very specific thing that you're here to help them with? Because I find that when people get that, then people start to recognize them and things just start to get a whole lot easier. And that's the thing that it's, I find that when it comes to finding that out, it can be a process and a questioning that you take people through, and a lot of times it continues to unfold even. So sometimes the person that you serve today, it's going to be a little different. I always tell people, you never marry your niche, you only just date it.
Right.
Because it can change and evolve. I mean, mine certainly has over the years. So claiming your stepping stone and knowing that when people recognize you as that, they'll sign up, they'll work with you.
So can you give some examples of the stepping stone things? I really like that metaphor a lot.
Okay, so I just helped one of my clients. We just did a website VIP day, and it's really where I help them write their website. But before we get to even that process, we have to find out, like, what is your offer, who are your, all that stuff first. And one of the things that she came to me, that she was, helping people to connect with their true selves, right? Which is great. I mean, who doesn't need that? I'm connected with my false self all the time, and it totally screws up my day. So connecting with your true self is great. But as we dug around, we realized that one of the things that she had been through was overcoming losing a partner, and it happened to her twice.
Wow.
And that is what created this opening for her to have this amazing transformation. Plus, she's sitting in this space where she really gets what people are going through in that kind of situation. Because especially when it comes to death, nobody really knows how to handle that. Everybody just wants you to cheer up. It's kind of like the Sleepless in Seattle, where the guy's got the business cards and everybody's like, you should call my shrink, So we decided that her stepping stone was for people who were really finding it hard to move on with their lives after this very difficult thing has happened. And it was so easy to describe, like, your friends don't really know what to do with you anymore. They just want you to cheer up. And so through that opening, through that challenge, that's how she helps somebody to connect with their true selves and eventually see the purpose in all of it, which I can imagine that people are searching for at a time like that. So that was, through our exploration, that was her stepping stone. And then they were able to go, oh, I need that to work with.
So it's interesting. So that she's working with these people who've just lost a partner, and sort of under the surface, what she's really doing is helping them connect with their true selves. But if she leads with that, if she's like, I'm just going to help you connect with your true self, it doesn't land as much as that particular stepping stone, which is a particular moment or place in somebody's life where she can best help.
Yes.
Yeah, that's definitely been my experience too. So what do you feel like is most important in niching, and what's a distraction? I know you'd said before, one of the most important things for you was really knowing the challenge that they're facing that has them seek you out, which is something I would agree with, and I'm just wondering if you can expand on that.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because a lot of hippie old soul types don't want to talk about the challenge. Like, we just want to move people into their higher selves or whatever it is that it is. And I say, like, a challenge is, I have a little different languaging for it, and when my clients hear this, they really like that. I'm like, instead of challenge, think of it like this. Call it the sacred catalyst for change. Or you can even substitute the word change for the word expansion or the word consciousness or whatever it is. But, we don't look for something until something sucks. We don't hire a coach when everything's fine. We hire a coach when we're feeling really challenged on something, or we feel like we've reached as far as we can go in a particular area, or we can't get past something or whatever. So to know what that is really you pinpointing the reason that you're that stepping stone in their journey at that particular time. And another thing about the oh god, shit! I hate it when it just flew right out of my head. It was really good. It'll come back to me in a minute. Keep asking questions. Maybe maybe it'll come back. There's something else I was going to say about that, but I forgot.
Well, it's just yeah. I mean, it's something I really agree with in terms of. I feel like if there's sort of three, I don't know, like concentric rings in terms of niching, like the sort of most important in the bullseye, then second and a third circle, and I feel like the challenge or the catalyst, and I love that language of it being a catalyst. Mm-hmm. That's a nice frame of it. Like that's the center. Then outside of that is maybe the sort of psychographics, what they value, what they believe, and then outside of that we have the demographics. But yeah. It's like people often reverse it and they make the demographics the center thing.
Right. Oh, I remember what I was going to say now. See, that was great. Is one of the reasons we're like that, and it's hard science, and it's something to really understand about the way brains are working today, because it's different than 10 years ago. With the explosion of the internet and this terrible thing right here, it's like an appendage. We've got more information at our fingertips. I don't know if you remember, Tad. Do you remember when you had to go to the library when you wanted to find stuff out? We don't have to do that anymore. And so we're so overloaded that for survival, our little filters in our brains have to become so tiny. Otherwise, we would literally explode with all the information. We can't even recognize it. So if it doesn't match something that somebody is looking for, I have this thing that I call the 10 steps to yes. And the first one is, wow, that's what I'm looking for. Cool. Because it's the one thing that has people stop and pay attention. Right. And if it doesn't match that exact thing, they won't see it. I have this little example of this that's so cool. When it happened to me, I was dumbfounded, like, wow, this really is how the brain works. I remember I was at this continental breakfast. It was a hotel, and it was a shitty continental breakfast. It was like one of these, like on a 6-foot table with cereal and dishes. And I was going to get some cereal, and I was looking for a bowl. And I was looking all over that stupid 6-foot table for a bowl, and I couldn't find one. And I looked for, probably a good 30 seconds, which is a really long time to be searching for on a small table. And then I finally asked somebody, like, where are the bowls? And this guy pointed right in front of me. And what happened was amazing, because I realized that what I was looking for, what I thought it was going to look like, was a little white kind of Dixie styrofoam bowl. But what was there was a black plastic bowl. And I literally didn't see it.
Wow.
Because it didn't match what I was looking for. And it really helped me to understand marketing a lot better in that moment. I was like, what you see with your eyes is not reality.
Right.
It's the whole thing behind change your thoughts, change your life, because it's like tweaking what those filters are. So you have to know that about your clients. You have to know what they're thinking about, what they're looking for, and be able to just take your thing and put it into that language where they go, oh, hell yeah, that's it. And they stop and pay attention and continue to move through the process.
I love it. Yeah, I talk a lot about it as sort of the first step of everything being relevance. That if people don't see that what you're offering is relevant, this is like, why would they pay any more attention?
Right.
But so often people don't frame things in a way that makes it relevant to the other person. Right. Even though it actually might be really wonderful and useful for them. Right. I remember when client, they did spin farming. It's like you basically lease out somebody's backyard, grow food there, sell it at markets or to high-end restaurants. It's a super interesting business model, but their brochure was just like Backyard Bounty is a micro farming venture, and it was like all about them, and micro farming ventures is jargon, and I was like, what? And we changed it to be attention Guelph homeowners. So that was the first thing. So it's like, if you're a homeowner, it's relevant. Right. That's me. Yes. do you have a backyard you're not using? Again, if they don't have a backyard, if they're using their backyard, the whole thing isn't relevant to them, but if they do, it's relevant. Then the sort of sub-headline, which ties into the next thing I want to ask you about, was like how your backyard can make you the envy of your neighbors, the hero to your community, provide local green jobs, grow you some delicious organic food, and maybe even make you a bit of money without you even having to lift a finger. And I saw, boom, and I saw people read this, and they were just like, oh, and I saw them just totally drawn in, because those first two things, are they a homeowner, do they have a backyard they're not using? Because there are lots of people I know, and I've had it where it's like I've been in a place, I'm like, man, I don't use this backyard, I wish somebody would use it, I'd totally let somebody garden here, I'd love it to be useful. And it's one of the other things I know you talked about was not being clear on what you really want to happen for your client when your work with them is complete. And I'm wondering if you can speak to that a bit.
Well, that kind of, and first of all, that's awesome. And I'll just say one quick thing and then I'll answer your question is, when I talk about the 10 steps to yes, what it is understanding somebody's journey from the point of contact to the point of, hell yeah, here's my credit card, I'm in.
Right.
Excuse me, I had the juice go down the wrong pipe. And the other ones are, get out of my head. How did you know that? And also in the point that they connect with you, which is, excuse me one second. Water break, juice break.
Water break.
But the point is you don't really talk about yourself for quite a while. It's all about them, what their challenge is, what they want.
Yeah.
The outcome that you provide. So when talking about the outcome, it's kind of like after we work together, this is what will happen, and this is what will happen, and this is what will happen. And you do this to the best of your ability.
Right.
It's really about laying out what I talk about to my clients is getting clear on the possibilities, the possible outcomes that are available with the intention of what you're going in there to accomplish. Because this is ultimately what people are buying. It's like when you sell the vacation and you talk about it like, okay, so there's this great vacation to the Greek islands and here's how this is going to work. First of all, you're going to go to the airport and then you're going to have to be strip searched by security and don't pack any hairspray because they'll take it. And then you go to the gate and you wait a while and then you're going to get on the plane and get some peanuts. Like this is not what people are buying. It's not relevant. So you describe how the sand is going to feel in their toes and what it's going to feel like. And it's not just about talking to them about what's possible through your work together, but talking about it with sensory language that conjures up pictures and images and emotions, because that's also the reason that people buy. People buy with their emotions and then rationalize with their logic. Mm-hmm. So they're both important. You need to have the logical reason, but also the emotional reason. So when you describe an outcome, you want to think in terms of, could I take a snapshot of this? Mm. Like if somebody was living this way, and I can give you one example on how to do that if you want me to.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, so a lot of times what I'll have people do is add the phrase "so that" to the end of the outcome. It's a really easy way to pull it out. So a common example is somebody like I just did a video on this last week. Somebody like a health coach who's like, when you work with me, you're gonna be able to lose 20 pounds in 4 days. Right. I'm kidding, but like you'll be able to take off that weight and get into your skinny jeans, so that you can wake up in the morning and have a lot more energy and feel like exercising, so that you can not be as tired when you play with your kids. And this would be helpful if you were targeting moms, right? Because then you can get more specific. So you wouldn't be screaming at them as much because you feel good, you have energy, you're thinking clearly. Also, you could be more productive in your business or at work. So this would also help if it was moms who own their own business. Like if these are the kind of nuances that you put on this, weight loss thing, then you could describe that outcome in language that those people are like, oh, I want to be able to not scream at my kids at 5 o'clock because I'm exhausted. Mm-hmm. I'd like to make some more money in my business, and so that you could have more time off, and just like keep adding the phrase "so that," and that can sometimes flush it out.
I really like that. Yeah, I've done that a lot in workshops where it's somebody will be, because I think articulating the result that people are craving, that they want, is so vital, and because it's so much of what is relevant. It's like they're craving something. There's something they want. And when we're insisting, the metaphor I use all the time is this, sort of the boat, like they're on island A with some problem, they want to be on island B, where there's some result they crave. Our business is like a boat that can take them from one island to the other. And if all we're doing is talking about our boat and how awesome our boat is and the construction of our boat, at a certain point that is relevant, but it's not relevant until the relevance of the journey is established.
Exactly.
Because we can be like, hey, you're here and you want to be here, which sounds so simple, but when I can read something, it's like I was thinking another one might be like my friend Carrie Klassen has a great ebook around how to do a lovable homepage. It's a very specific result.
Yes.
Island A is like, my homepage is terrible. I'm embarrassed for people to go to my website. People are like, do you have a website? And I'm like, yeah, but why don't you just email me? And then, which was me years ago. And then this, on the other side, it's Island B is you have a completed. So the logical one would be I have a completed homepage. That I really love. Well, so that you can feel proud to show it, and so that you're actually excited about people seeing your website, so that you're actually going to be, more excited to spread your the word about your website, and so that when people hit the website, they're going to know if it's a fit for them, or that kind of thing.
So that you can accomplish what you set out to accomplish with your website, which is ultimately, in many cases, wanting them to buy something.
Right.
And in some cases it's not, but it's rare. And it's one of those things that when you, I do the same thing because I help people do content, not design. I suck at that, but content is good, But yeah, it's having the so that. As you continue to flesh out what those outcomes are. And then again, the more you know about your client, the easier it is to flesh out those outcomes.
It strikes me how this, in terms of figuring out the niche, the niche to me, it's basically who are we trying to reach, at one level. And so it's like, who's that person on island A? But it's like hard to separate from that. What is it that they're craving on island B? And often when people are like, oh, well, I guess, they're just unhealthy and they want to be healthy. And it's like, that's great. That's like the basic start. But then it is like, what's that particular stepping stone that you are in that journey of health? And what is their experience of it from their eyes? Like, how do they experience it in the moment? And what are they picturing when they're craving it? What are they most wanting? And then if you can be offering that and you can describe it in the way that they're experiencing, they're just more likely to read it and say like, oh yeah, that's me. This is relevant. And that's just the first step. But until that's established, nothing else really seems to matter. And so I'd asked you also before about some of your favorite examples of niche businesses. And you'd given 3, and one of them was Gaiam TV, so it's GAIAMTV.com. And I'm curious if you could speak to why you think that's such a great example.
Well, because first of all, I just signed up with it, and basically what it is it's like a Netflix with all like informative, conscious TV, right? So it's got like basically. I love watching TV. I really do. I have a very busy brain, and it really helps me to relax. But the problem is I can get addicted to crap like everyone else. Like start watching, 5 seasons of Gossip Girl, which is going to do nothing to help my life, right? So I want a solution to this problem. I want to be able to watch TV and feel like I'm doing it right. It's like, I want healthy chocolate. You know what I'm saying?
Totally.
So I get to eat my chocolate, get my indulgence, but not feel like I'm rotting my brain. And there's a lot more people nowadays that feel like this. And just one exposure to stuff that is, good, positive messages. And so when I saw their site, I was like, that's what I'm looking for. And the way they were describing it, which is, this is about, conscious TV, stuff that's going to help you grow, help you learn, help you expand. And I've been on it and I've watched all these things and I love it. So it's got a, like where you can see really good documentaries. Yeah. And I love watching documentaries. I love watching about weird stuff. And so it's, it's kind of for the old soul type that still wants to watch TV but doesn't want it to be crap. And I just thought, like, that's a great idea. It's about time somebody really did that, because it's speaking to a whole group of people who feel like the mainstream media just sucks and has very little value. That's what I thought, anyway.
Perfect. The second one was Cafe Gratitude. Why do you love that one as a niche example so much?
It's funny. It's kind of the same thing, which is I'm mostly vegan. I like to eat organic food, and it's hard to find restaurants. Like, everything's all about tasting good, but I want to find restaurants that it's not just about tasting good, but it's about, really like getting it from local sources and making sure that, you put stuff together that's really yummy and sustainable. Plus, for the people who love personal development, you go in there and it's just this inspiring kind of environment where even you order the stuff on the menu and it's all an affirmation. Right. And you'll like, I'm going to have I am abundant and I am just, freaking amazing today. And then when they serve it to you, it's like, you are abundant. It's just awesome. And so I think it was, again, it was sort of answering this thing for this group of people that wanted a particular kind of food and felt at home in there. And even they have, like the servers come up with like a question of the day that's very, like provocative and like, what's the meaning of life? And so, I think people who like to have deep conversation, like I'm not much into small talk. I'm like, so for me, again, it was one of those things that it answered a concern that I was having about food and the environment, and also the energy that's going into my food. Like, I realized that like here's my water bottle, okay, which is, this is the kind of thing that like I want to look at, because I am amazing, covered in awesome sauce, and it's doing things to my water, and I get to look at it all day, and it makes me feel good. So again, it's reminding me of the truth of myself through this kind of clever angle that I just thought. So, I mean, obviously these were all things that I really like, but I thought they were good ideas by people who were wanting to appeal to a very particular kind of crowd.
Yeah. And the third one was the Relic Tavern.
Yeah. Okay, now this is actually in my town. It's a little town that I live in called Benicia.
Okay.
And the Relic is, first of all, there's nothing unique in this town at all. It's very mom and pop kind of Mayberry sort of town with all the same kinds of restaurants and places. And they found this little niche of people that were in Benicia and in the surrounding areas. And what they've done is they put this like, first of all, the place is super upscale. Like, you walk in, it's really nice. It's good food. The drinks are super high quality, and they're squeezing fresh juices into your martini and all of that. But it's got this kind of like 80s rocker feel to it. That's like they're like, and a little bit of a gothy theme. Like the waitresses are walking around in these like, tight corsets with tattoos and stuff like this. So it's for a very specific person who's like, I am in my 40s and 50s. I wore a Bon Jovi and a Metallica shirt, 20 years ago, and it's this combination of being upscale for an older crowd, yet really nostalgic at the same time. And I just thought it was brilliant. And the place is packed. Like, it is packed, and they have all these different theme nights. Like, they're really offering a unique thing to a very specific group of people that like nice things, but, like a little bit of the dark side, along with their martini, which I definitely have that too. So.
It reminds me of, in a different kind of way, in Winnipeg, there used to be this bar called the Low Pub, and it was a part of a hostel, and sadly the hostel closed, so it shut down. But it was a vegan pub. Uh-huh. But it just looked like a dingy pub with crappy carpets and dartboards, and like there was nothing about it that said healthy things are here, but they served local beer. The chicken wings were called fwings, but they were like, fake chicken wings, basically. And it was awesome. It was just like such a cool place to hang out.
Right.
And so it was people who wanted the healthy thing, but wanted the downscale, not the upscale. So it's interesting, it's like
right.
That one was it sounded like it seemed a little health conscious, like really good quality ingredients.
Oh, I wouldn't.
You wouldn't say health conscious.
Conscious. I've ordered, some pretty crappy food there as far as like not healthy, right. But really good. Like it's interesting. Like they have these specific plates and presentation of, the sliders
right.
that look really nice. And so these really comfy couches and but it's expensive. Like everything's expensive. The drinks are like $12,
Wow.
But they're using all fresh stuff back there, and it's definitely needs to appeal to an older crowd who's got some money.
Right.
But but I don't want to go to a dive bar. I want a nice place, right? Like I'm 41. I don't want to hang out in a freaking dive bar like I did when I was 25. However, I like the old school feel to it. And I just thought it was a really, these are good business people. Well, like, they've got something unique.
And something that's interesting about, like, the Low Pub and that is, well, and even the Guy MTV and maybe even Cafe Gratitude, and I'm finding this with niches is so often, so a niche in terms of an ecosystem is, it's a particular place where whatever organism can thrive. And so, but nature's, always sort of overlapping its different parts. And that we all, as people, we're a part of many different communities, usually. We're a part of many different scenes. And I find some of the most interesting niches business-wise are ones where people find unusual things that overlap or could overlap and combine them. So, you've got this, like, kind of, it's upscale, but it's also kind of rock and roll. It's downscale, and it's a pub, but it's vegan. Or, the Guy MTV, it's TV, but it's healthy, and it's still educational. And people finding a way to combine all these interesting things. So that's just something I've been noticing about niching is I even wrote that blog post I think you saw about the oxymorons in business names, like marketing for hippies, they don't seem to go together, Zen bitch slap, they don't seem to go together, chocolate for breakfast, I just refound another one was the sacred striptease it's called, and it's a woman who teaches women how to do stripteases but in a sacred way, so combining striptease with spirituality.
Why didn't I think of that? That is awesome.
Isn't it great?
Oh well, I got something to fall back on now. There's a market for it apparently.
Yeah. And so the last thing was I'd asked you about where do you feel like is the what's the easiest way for people to find a niche, and your response was look at the mirror.
Sure.
And I'm curious if you can say more about that.
Yeah. Many times, and again, specific to the transformation industry, something where you're doing something to help people transform or wake up or become more conscious or whatever. There's usually something that you've overcome,
Yeah.
that helps you to go now, like going back for the others. Like I've been through this landscape. I understand where the twists and turns are, and now I'm going to go back and guide you through. And this is true from what I've seen in about 95% of the cases.
Yeah, me too.
It's the truth. Yeah, I mean, like one of the things that I teach is about intimacy and communication and getting people to hear you. Like, what do you think I've been challenged by my whole life? Like, I've been feeling like nobody was hearing me. I also felt like intimacy was really hard for me. I was made fun of a lot as a kid, and it had me put a wall up. So, like, I get all of these things, and I don't know if there's, like, I've achieved any kind of mastery at it, but I'm, like, 10 steps ahead of somebody who's just starting out. Like, I can definitely help somebody navigate through this pretty well. But yeah, so it's something that you understand, and even in the other 5% of the cases where this thing hasn't happened to you in some way, there's some reason that you're drawn to it. And I find that if you dig deep enough, it's like, this is what happened to your mother or your sister or somebody that you really cared about. That's like I saw one business like this it was people who went out and did like spa services for like cancer patients. Went and gave them massages and put some makeup on them. And,
wow.
When you're feeling all sick and gross, and it's something that just feels really supportive. And this woman she didn't have cancer, but somebody very close to her did. And she did these little things for her and noticed how it would just lift her mood. And of course, when you're sick, any possible thing that can lift your mood is just, I saw something on it, and I just remember crying, like, that is a really beautiful thing. And, so that, again, it's not in 100% of the cases, but most of the time it's like, that's really the place to look. And I've yet to meet a single person in our industry or anybody who, like, if you look a couple of notches underneath the surface, all of us are teaching what we need to learn at some shape. Like, I'm like, if you want to know what somebody's biggest issue is, look at their website. And I'm rarely wrong about this.
Totally. Yeah, that's certainly true for me. When I just got into this in the beginning, I was like, I got into the high pressure sales, and I was so slick and insincere and slimy, and that's painful to go through. But it's interesting because the thing that really got me about what you just said, that's sort of a new thought for me, is how that niching is usually, in my experience, look back in your own life, but the thing in your own life that you might be looking back at isn't the bad thing that happened directly to you, but it might have been somebody you cared about who went through something, and you never want to see anyone go through what they went through again. And so then, because of the connection you have with that person, and I suppose it could be also something where somebody did something to you that was so good to you and was so inspiring for you. Like, I know, Tony Robbins does the basket brigade, or he used to, where he'd go feed families every Thanksgiving, and they'd go just show up at doors on Thanksgiving with dinner and and a lot of food. But it happened because when he was like 9 or something, somebody showed up at his door on Thanksgiving when they had like nothing, and just kindness from a stranger. And then he just was like, when I was 9, I went to summer camp, and I had this awesome camp counselor. Then I wanted to be a camp counselor. So it just strikes me that it could be the trauma we went through. Sometimes it might be something that's so inspiring that just like, and touched us so much, or it could be, hardship we saw somebody else went through. And so, yeah, that's interesting.
And a lot of times this is revealed by what is that thing that you really want to help people do. Like, we don't just wake up in the morning with like, especially those of us who want to be coaches, healers, holistic practitioners, like that kind of thing. There's something that makes you want to, like, it's where the desire first comes to the surface, right? Yeah. Again, it's through doing some poking around that you get to find out, more. It's the beautiful thing is in discovering who you're here to help. You see yourself a lot more clearly. Totally. That's why I say your life can make sense. Like all these things I've been through, the good, the bad, the ugly, the blood, the sweat, the tears, it all like comes to a head at this point in my life as to like who I can turn around and help, who I really understand on a deep level. And I get to hear it over and over is that people just, there's a resonance, right? They feel like I'm going to get them. They feel like I can help them. And it's also part of like sharing the vulnerability and the credibility piece. Those are both really important. Like those people need to know that you can relate to them. They also need to know that you're confident that you can help them. And there's an example for that. I always say, like, if you're going on a river rafting trip, which is really, really dangerous, and but amazing, it's like on your bucket list. And, the guide sits down and goes, he or she says, okay, like, I get it. You're sitting there right now. You're really excited, but you're a little freaked out. You don't know how this is going to turn out. And, you're wondering if you're going to come out of this alive. And I felt that way too. I sat in your seat at one point with my first river rafting trip. Now, if he or she says, okay, everybody, let's go, you're like, well, that's really great that you get me. But the other piece of that is, but don't worry. I've been down this river 100 times. Right. I ain't lost anybody yet. You're totally safe. You got your life jackets, and you're gonna have the time of your life. And so you need to know that somebody like is cool with the fact that they've got you, and you're gonna be safe. It's trust and safety are two big, huge things.
One of the sort of formulas I've heard around that is the feel, felt, found. Have you heard of that?
The what? The
feel, felt, found. But it's like, basically it's like, I know how you feel because I felt the same way, and what I found when I went through it was this. And it just struck me, the good, the bad, and the ugly is actually something I think I want to use in my niching course of like, when we look back at our life, because you said, we look back at life, the good, bad, and the ugly, and it's like, look at like, what are all the good things that happened to you that were so inspiring? What were the bad things that happened to you, and what were the ugly things you saw that made you want to do something? Right. So, thanks for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Feel free. I didn't come up with it. It was a movie.
Really? Oh, damn.
Planet Sweat, I think.
Okay, I'll give credit to the movie then. Well, thank you so much. This has been really lovely. And is there anything else you want to share before we go? I can't think of anything. I just, again, it's a process. And if I could leave you with anything, just know that, like, finding your niche, it starts and it evolves. So one of the things that I've seen people trip up on is like, am I going to do this for the rest of my life? And I have to make this decision. And so they get so stuck in moving forward because they wonder how they're going to feel about it 5 years from now. Like, chances are you probably won't be doing this 5 years from now, but you got to just get good enough where you can get started and then keep getting clarity as you move. I find that more clarity comes through movement than in sitting still waiting to be clear. So just start somewhere, something good enough, get you some clients, figure some shit out, and the rest will occur to you over time. That's been my experience. And if people want to reach you or learn more about what you do and about your 10 steps and all that, where do they go? How do they learn more? Oh, yeah.
A couple things. You can go to my website, which is, I'll give you an easy URL, is Netri, Netri.com. And I've actually got a video training on there that's called 5 Reasons Why Your Marketing is Not Attracting high quality, kick-ass clients who love to pay you, and what you must do to enroll with ease. And
Cool.
I've seen that when people go through this video training, a lot of stuff gets really, really super clear.
Cool.
And it helps you like what to do instead. And just start there, and that should clear up a lot of stuff for you.
Awesome. Well, I encourage everyone to check that out. Thank you so much for joining me. I had really a lot of fun
Thanks.
talking and learned some things, and we'll see you all on the next video.
Bye, everyone. Bye, Todd. Thank you.